Appsmith is an open source framework for developers looking for the easiest way to build internal tools. Let's say you're a tech startup. You probably have someone looking at your user data and performing admin tasks like updating details or initiating refunds. Let me show you how you can do this in Appsmith in just 5 minutes. Let's begin by fetching our users from our database. We already have Postgres set up, so we just need to write the select query. Let's fetch the ID, the name, the email, and the role fields. Let's also order it by the ID and add a limit. We can call this get users. Awesome. So our query is actually fetching our data now. Now we need a way to actually display this data on our UI. Let's use a table widget. And the table can talk to the query using JavaScript. So we can say get users.data. And just like that, all of the data is displayed. And if you're dealing with large data sets, we probably also need to paginate this. So let's enable server-side pagination and call the query on page change. Since everything in Appsmith is exposed as JavaScript, we can go ahead and update the query's offset field to read from the table's page number. Let's subtract 1 since table page number starts in 1. Let's multiply this by 15. And just like that, we're also now able to iterate through the entire dataset in our backend. We'd also like to update the user's details. To do this, we can make use of a form. Forms can be very easily customized with other widgets. So we can make use of an input widget to update a name. Let's call this the name input. And we can use like a dropdown to update the role. Let's call this the role dropdown. And we can update the options of the dropdown to reflect the admin, editor, and viewer roles. Now we'd also like to pre-fill this form every time we select a user. So let's update the default value and let's take it from the table selected row. And similarly, let's update the role. Great. So now our form is getting pre-filled with the data from our table. What we want to do next is we want to update the data in our database using this form. So let's go ahead and execute a query on click. So let's update users. And what we can also do is every time update succeeds, let's go ahead and fetch the users again. We've already configured our update user query. As you can see, the update user query is taking the data from our input widgets. So now, every time we update a user, it hits our database and also fetches the data again. And as soon as the data gets updated, our UI also updates. Now that we're updating user details, we probably want to inform our users that their details got updated. To do this, we can make use of SendGrid's mail API and send them an email. We can import the API using our curl importer and edit it using our REST interface. Let's call this sendMail. And let's take in the name from the name input and update the role to the role dropdown. We can now send an email every time a user's details are updated. To do this, let's convert our onClick to JavaScript. And now let's go ahead and call the sendMail API. Let's deploy our application so we can test it. This is the end user mode of our application, where users can go ahead and update details. So updating this user should now send us an email with the updated details. Let's check our inbox. And here we can see we've received an email with all the updated data. We can now go ahead and share our application with our users. We can either invite them directly to our application, or we can make our application public and shared with the world. With Appsmith, the choice is ours.